Yeah, it's 100-1 to win.
Yep.
It's not a mortgage bet. It's a lottery ticket with some kind of logic. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Spread Zone, and guys, it's one of my favorite weeks. It's one of my favorite weeks in sports.
This is the week.
Yes. Well, because in golf, all the majors are done.
Yep.
The public goes, we're exhaling.
Yep.
And that's when value shows up, guys. And in football, it's the sweet spot where futures are live, but the narrative has not been written yet. So we could still buy numbers before they get steamed into dust. So we'll talk the 3M Open at TPC Twin Cities. We'll talk NFL MVP. We'll talk an NFL season awards. And we're here for one reason, guys. We're here to make you money.
Cash money.
My name is Riz. That there is Tim McKernan. That there is Anthony Stalter. We are recording this Wednesday, July 22nd at noon Central. Of course, the show is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. Every number we talk about today is a FanDuel number, but lines move. So if you're tailing, shop the number inside FanDuel, and if it's gone, don't chase it like a maniac. All right, first stop, Minnesota. That's right. Up north.
Yeah, this is the one. This is the one you wanted. It's the one you got.
Blaine, Minnesota, which is lovely.
Really?
Time of year. Yeah.
It's glorious conditions, Anthony.
Blaine, Minnesota, TPC Twin Cities, and if you're just coming off, the Open Championship,
Riz, you made money on the Open Championship.
I did. Thank you, Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, Tommy Fleet.
You and I both like Tommy. Now, I had him to win, just as a kind of throwing it out there.
Yeah, I got a T4.
Perfect.
And you bet him top 20.
Top 20.
And he, that was a sweat-free cash for
Absolutely.
you.
Well done.
Tip of the cap.
So,
on Matt Fitzpatrick, missed cut.
And who won? Fox?
Ryan Fox, one of the fastest golfers you'll ever see play.
Yeah, what was the big controversy over the weekend?
Bryson DeChambeau, two-stroke penalty for accused by the rules officials of stomping around to give himself a better lie when he was in the right rough on number 5. He protested the two-stroke penalty, was quite demonstrative about it. In the end, he did not win that debate, and he lost 2 strokes because you're not allowed to stomp down large grass or obstructions to improve your lie and create a swing path. And he was furious about it. The European golfers said he absolutely did it. Many American golfers said Bryson's not a cheater, and they disagreed with him.
Where does Tim McKernan stand?
I can understand why they thought it was something that he was doing, but I don't know if there is enough evidence to assess the two-stroke penalty. So I thought it was egregious on the two-stroke penalty. And I would not consider myself, for the record, a big Bryson fan. So this isn't based on a bias on that.
Well, listen, coming off the Open Championship where it's sideways wind, survived the cut, welcome to opposite planet.
Yeah.
So this is a par 71 stretched out to about 7,500 yards. It's built to produce birdies and disasters because water's everywhere.
Yeah, it is.
We're talking 27 water penalty areas with water in play across a bunch of holes. So yes, you could go low, but you could also make an instant triple if you're greedy or sloppy. So how do you play this, Tim?
What a really strange event we have this week, because for some reason, Scottie Scheffler is playing this event.
Yes.
No one else of note, and I say that respectfully, is participating in this because these guys take the week off after the Open in England. But the next, Scheffler's plus 260 to win.
And you know what? That number plus 270 kind of tells you everything. It's the book daring you to bet on him.
It's so difficult. The next shortest number is Kurt Kitayama, the defending champion, who's plus 2,500. I mean, you go from plus 260 to second is plus 2,500. We had 8 guys last weekend at the Open who had shorter odds than Kitayama, who's second.
Yeah.
this week. Maverick McNeely's plus 2,700. We have a Masters winner in there. Hideki Matsuyama plus 3,000. And Tom Kim won the Scottish Open a couple of weeks ago. But all due respect to the field, this is usually a place where somebody might go who has been struggling and will get a win, or a first-time winner, because it is a birdie fest. It's quite different than what we saw this past weekend, where you're dealing with challenging conditions and, in the case of the Open, some rough greens for putting purposes, which Scheffler struggled with in a major way.
So this is a $8.8 million purse. Winner gets 500 FedEx Cup points. Is that why Scheffler is playing?
I would gather that Scheffler, who has had a year in which he is one of the only players in the last 15 years to finish in the top 15 in all majors. He did it last year. He did it this year as well. Didn't get a win this year. Xander Schauffele did it in 24, and you got to go back to Ricky Fowler in 2014. So by definition, he had a great year, but he didn't get any wins outside of the Amex back in January. I think he has to get his putter right. Something is off with that. Weirdly, between 10 and 15 feet, he's making putts, but 7 feet to 10 feet, he's missing these putts, and he was really getting frustrated this past weekend. So I think he wants to get himself in a good mindset before the FedEx Cup gets underway. It's the first time he's ever played in this event, so we don't have any course history on Scottie Scheffler. Whereas Kurt Kitayama is the defending champion. You just have to decide how you're going to play this, whether it's for gambling purposes or for daily fantasy purposes. Are you going to go with Scheffler, who is the clear favorite, or do you have somebody who you like and giving some long odds on?
You know, give me my first pick as an outright winner. Give me Tom Kim at plus
3,000. Here he comes.
Plus 300, plus 3,000.
2 weeks ago.
Just doing my research on this guy. He's one of these players who could get hot and turn a scoring event into a runaway. Because when he's dialed in, man, he stacks birdies. And at TPC Twin Cities, you're not trying to win. You're not trying to win with great bogeys. You're trying to win with a real birdie rate. And the water just means you need a guy who could bounce back instantly after one mistake. So give me Tom Kim.
I like it,
plus
Riz.
3,000.
Okay.
Well, he's played well 2 weeks ago. He won the Scottish. As I said, Kurt Kitayama is your defending champion, and he won the 2025 3N Open by going 23 under par. That gives you an idea of how low you have to go at this event. Players will be aggressive. It brings risk in. As you mentioned, there's a lot of water out there. Logic dictates you look at Scottie Scheffler and to get 2.5 to 1 on your money. I just can't figure the whole thing out. And if you say, do you take Scottie Scheffler or the field? You get everybody else or Scottie Scheffler. I think I would have to take the field. I don't know if Scottie Scheffler excels at a birdie fest like this. So if you give me that option, I would take the field. But again, Scheffler's plus 260. Here's the direction I am going to go on betting this thing. Number one, Scottie Scheffler to top 20 is minus 550. How about that? That gives you an idea of the faith in Scottie
Right.
Scheffler. I would look at this name, who is a name that I know is not a household name, but that's where I try to give some people some value because he has played well there before. Taylor Moore is plus 10,000 to win the event, and he has 2 top 15 finishes at this event. But where I would go with Taylor Moore is plus 430 for a top 20. You can throw the dart if you want on the win at plus 10,000. But to get 4 to 1 on your money on a top 20 for a guy who has excelled at this golf course, I love that play. Another play that I look at and I think is intriguing on this golf course is a gentleman by the name of Pearson Coody. He was kind of lurking early on at the Open. Super talented.
Pearson Coody?
Pearson Coody of the Coody brothers. And he is plus 210 to top 20. And then if you did want to go Schefflering on the whole affair, then you could put Scottie Scheffler with them, and you can go, okay, Scottie Scheffler's probably going to top 20. And if you did want to put Scottie Scheffler, and then you got that minus 550, and you feel like it's in the 5-star lock category, you are being paid $1,800 on a $100 wager.
Do you have the to finish top 20 up right now?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's where I am.
What do we
Scheffler's
got?
minus 550. Your guy Tom Kim, by the way, is plus 160 for top 20.
What do we got on Emiliano Grillo?
Boy, that's a good guy for this course because he can either go super low or shoot a ridiculous score. He is plus 300 to top 20.
Plus 7,000 to win outright.
And plus 7,000 to win up outright. So that's a guy. Tony Finau has played well there. He's won it there. I don't know if Tony Finau is still kind of locked into playing. The one other name that I would point out that I don't understand why his odds are so high, but I will play, is Sung J M. He's a legitimate player, and he's plus 5,000 to win this thing. That's strange to me, but I have a fiduciary responsibility to myself to bet it and to the listeners to point it out. Plus 5,000 for Sung J M is a really high number. I would have thought he could have been top 5 as far as short odds go, but he's about 14th on the list. So there are some options for this thing. Scottie Scheffler playing is certainly intriguing, but I think you can fade Scottie Scheffler and because everybody's going to be on him.
Yeah.
That's my reasoning. From a daily fantasy lineup construction.
Does the name Lucas Glover?
Lucas Glover has had
to
his moments here as of late. He's got to get that putter working. If the putter's working, he can dial it in.
Yeah, it's 100 to 1 to win.
Yep.
It's not a mortgage bet. It's a lottery ticket with some kind of logic.
Some in the Taylor Moore category.
There's reputable swings in there. Anthony, any plays on the 3M Open?
Guys, talk to me about Jackson Suber.
Yeah.
Jackson Suber, fresh off contending at the Open.
Yeah, he was lurking.
Yes, sir. Needs to make up some ground. Riz, you had brought up the fact that, this is what, your last chance, I think, for the FedEx playoffs or one of your last chances.
Well, it's big points here, 500 points.
So given the fact that Suber has looked good of late, got the motivation, I could see him top 20, maybe even top 10.
He's a player.
Depending on what sort of odds you're getting. But I'm looking at Jackson Suber.
I love these to finish top 20, top 10.
Yeah.
Got a little leeway.
Yeah.
You really do.
But you're getting really favorable odds.
Yeah.
Taking one of these guys at the British Open, that's high risk.
I had some bad plays. I'll be honest with you, over the weekend with the World Cup. Had some bad plays. But man, when I see Tommy Fleetwood,
that's your guy. He called the shot.
And I see that top 20 hit at the Open, I go, all right, everything's all right.
I would have loved to have seen him win it. He was lurking in his hometown.
I don't need him to win it.
Yeah, you
I
got
don't
home
need some
anyway.
of these guys to win it.
Mm-hmm.
You got home anyway.
But you start rooting for him.
Yeah.
I started rooting for him.
Yeah.
Hey, let's just win this. Because you almost feel like, too, if you got him in the top, what would you have him? Top 20? 20. You have him in the top 20. So he's going to make you money. So at that point, you're like, I want this guy to win it all. He did me right. I'm gonna support him.
Yeah.
Whereas if you get a team or a golfer or whoever that is not going to make you money,
right?
The rage starts.
Pulling against him.
Yeah,
sure.
The hatred starts. The unnecessary hatred starts, and you start to go against them.
Yeah.
That's not just me.
I mean, even if it was, Tommy Fleetwood's top 20 finish minus 210, they're $100 down. You get $147 back. Fine.
Well played. It was well played.
That's fine.
Lucas Glover has finished as high as top 7 at the 3M. So he has been there before.
Is that a good play, top 20?
Goal.
Yes.
There you go. Finished tied for 3rd at the John Deere a few weeks ago and tied for 5th in the event last week. So Lucas Glover is in form.
All right, well, let's make some money on some 3M Open golf.
Let's do it.
All right, anything else on the golf this week?
No, sir.
All right, so let's take a break. We'll come back and we'll talk some NFL futures. MVP first, maybe?
Let's do it.
All right. Today's episode is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook, and this is exactly the time of year to be sharp. Golf outrights, NFL future, season awards. You're not betting games, you're betting numbers. It's the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. We are back on the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. So, Anthony, let's talk NFL futures. NFL MVP. This award is where sportsbooks make their money off one basic truth. People bet names, not paths.
Yep.
So we're going to bet the path.
I love it. Love the way you phrased it.
So, first of all, and the MVP, start with this then, the MVP formula in real life. You're almost always betting a quarterback. You need a team that's going to win a lot of games, and you need a story the voters can repeat in one sentence.
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love the breakdown.
So what do you think? How are you looking at this?
So to add to what you just said, let's look at some of the latest MVP trends, because it does help paint a picture of who could win this year. The last 13 winners of the NFL MVP have been quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. The last 13. So we're looking at QBs. Since 2001, only 3 non-quarterbacks have won NFL MVP. All were running backs. So unless you really love like Bijan Robinson or Saquon Barkley.
Well, and Saquon burned me last year because that was my August MVP pick.
So unless you really love one of those top running backs or Jahmyr Gibbs or somebody like that, we're looking at QBs. And since 2001, almost every NFL MVP winner has been on a team that won at least 11 games. Mm-hmm. Adrian Peterson's MVP season was the only exception, with the Vikings winning 10 games in 2012. So, process of elimination. We're getting rid of all wide receivers or tight ends or all that. It's a cute pick, Riz, but
part of the formula is you're almost always betting a quarterback.
Right. So we're not doing that. We're also not going to start at the top of the heap. So like Josh Allen at plus 650 from FanDuel, Lamar Jackson at plus 850, Joe Burrow even at plus 900, Matthew Stafford at plus 900.
You don't like that Lamar Jackson pick?
I love it, but if we're looking to win some money here, then let's start looking at some of the quarterbacks with longer odds.
Okay, so Jared Goff at plus 3,500.
Yes.
This is not me saying he's the best quarterback. It's me saying, hey, man, if Detroit is a number 1 seed type team and the offense is rolling, voters sometimes reward the QB of the machine. Mm-hmm. At 35-1, you're paying for possibility, but not certainty. So maybe I wouldn't, I'm not betting the house on it, but at 35-1,
those are good money. Those are tremendous odds. And if you go back to last week when we started talking about like the passing yards, remember I mentioned Jared Goff as the guy to lead the league in passing.
Yeah.
They hired Drew Petzing from Arizona because they didn't like the offensive coordinator situation last year. Remember, they had to replace Ben Johnson, who's now in Chicago. And they wound up hiring a guy that put the ball in the air a lot in Arizona. Now, I'm not saying he's going to do the same thing in Detroit. He's got a better running back situation now with Jahmyr Gibbs. But I do think Jared Goff's going to have plenty of passing yards, and the Lions are going to be a good bounce-back candidate. They got a last-place schedule. They finished last in the NFC North last year, and that's going to make a huge difference. So, again, going back to can they win 11 games? Yeah. Jared Goff, quarterback, great odds. Another guy I'm interested in is Dak Prescott at plus 1,400. I don't believe in the Cowboys as much as I believe in the Lions, but I do think the Cowboys are going to give Philadelphia a run for their money in the NFC East. I could see them winning 11 games, and they're going to put the ball in the air a ton because their offense is set up that way. You've got CeeDee Lamb on one side. You've got George Pickens on the other. Ferguson, the tight end, is excellent as well. They're going to be a passing offense. So I like Dak too. And then one other guy I'll throw out there. I think Justin Herbert has a big.
I got him written down too.
You got Mike McDaniel coming in from Miami. We know from an efficiency standpoint, he's somebody that's going to, very quick passes, get the ball out. And I think the Chargers have a better roster than most people think.
If the Chargers are winning 11 to 12 games and Herbert is, putting up, video game passing production, voters love he carried them story.
Not only that, Riz, but the 2 offensive tackles are coming back too. He was missing for all but I think 4 games last year, both of his offensive tackles, and he still performed well. The plus 1,000 though, decent odds. Mm-hmm. But I was kind of hoping that when I was doing the research on this, that Herbert would have longer odds so we cash in. So Goff, I think, is your long shot play. Dak Prescott's your mid-range shot, and then Herbert is certainly not a favorite, but somebody that's got decent value behind him.
Any thoughts on the MVP, Tim?
I like the idea of Dak Prescott. That intrigues me.
Good.
Because it is all about the pathway. And if you do see the Cowboys as having the possibility, and you gave the stat on how we haven't seen anything but quarterbacks here over the last decade plus, that would be a good one, especially at that payoff. So I like that. I like that play there. Now, I don't know how that plays with the Cowboys fans and then those who hate the Dallas Cowboys because maybe you're getting caught up in the hype. Mm-hmm. But that intrigues me with his wide receivers and potentially being in that spot in Dallas.
All right, that's MVP. Let's take a break. Our final break. We'll come back and we'll talk some of these NFL season awards. It's the Spread Zone presented by FanDuel. All right, we are back on the Spread Zone, sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. All right, season awards are where you could buy early and smart because the market isn't just predicting performance, it's predicting voters. So, and voters love three things here: team improvement, big counting stats, and storylines that could summarize, as I mentioned before in MVP, storylines that they can summarize in one sentence. So let's start with, you want to do Coach of the Year?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Coach of the Year, Anthony Stalter. NFL Coach of the Year is going to be?
Let's go with Clint Kubiak at plus 1,700. So Clint Kubiak, as we know, was in New Orleans a couple of years ago. And actually, maybe people don't realize this because they just kind of followed Clint Kubiak when he got to Seattle and they won the Super Bowl. But Clint Kubiak was the offensive coordinator in New Orleans a handful of years ago. And this is when Derek Carr was still their quarterback. And for the first two games, they put up video game numbers. Didn't really have the overall talent on offense, which is why it wasn't sustainable. But it was clear that Clint Kubiak had a knack for drawing up a good system offensively. Didn't work out in New Orleans. He eventually winds up in Seattle. Sam Darnold, Jackson Smith, and Jigba, as we know, they wind up winning the Super Bowl. He goes now to Vegas. They got Kirk Cousins to start, and of course, they drafted Mendoza number 1. He's got veteran stability at QB, somebody that's been around in Cousins, and then Mendoza is your instant wild card if Cousins starts to fray a little bit. They also have some weapons. Brock Bowers, one of the best pass-catching tight ends or receivers for that matter in the league. Still got Ashton Genty. They got to improve the offensive line, and they added some decent pieces when it comes to the receivers. The other thing, Riz, and you kind of highlighted some of the like the background of Coach of the Year. You need somebody that the expectations are low. Mm-hmm. And even though the Raiders are kind of more intriguing now, if you ask anybody, like for their predictions for the season, they're going to have the Raiders dead last in the AFC West. So if Clint Kubiak and the Raiders wind up making, let's just say they're the last wild card, they're going to have a last place schedule too. He's a shoo-in to win Coach of the Year. And at plus 1,700, you're getting pretty good odds.
Tim, do you see who the favorite is to win Coach of the Year on top of the board?
Want to take a guess, gentlemen? Anybody? Want to fire a bet?
I got the answer.
Yeah, unfortunately,
you're accusing yourself. You're a man of honor.
Do you know the
man
answer?
Of honor. I was looking up the odds as we were talking.
Yeah, I have to recuse myself as well.
Oh, so you know?
Yeah.
Okay. John Harbaugh.
So John Harbaugh,
which makes sense,
is at the top. But my pick for Coach of the Year, as you mentioned, team expectations, and if you start winning, it looks pretty good. Kellen Moore at plus 1,400.
Sure.
Coach of the Year is the award. Coach of the Year is the award for who improved the team the most. Mm-hmm. And if the Saints take a real step forward and surprise people, Kellen Moore gets credit, whether he personally called all the plays or not.
Horse bleep division too, so it's wide open.
Yeah.
It's a smart play
at plus 1,400.
It's also about whoever maximizes against low expectations. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's very difficult for a team with a high win total at the start of the season to have it. And so along those lines, I'll be curious to see what the Ravens do. You have Jesse Minter is there in there replacing Harbaugh and attempting to have the bounce back year. But yeah, you're betting against expectations and who is going to supersede those. You don't have to have a great year. You just have to supersede.
You just have to show improvement.
Exactly right. Mm-hmm. So the biggest long shots tied for Dan Quinn, D'Amico Ryan, Zach Taylor, and Sean McVay. So there are high expectations there. Very difficult to supersede those. And along those lines, you could see somebody from one of those teams that has been struggling have a leap forward. So yeah, I see where you're coming from on Kellen Moore.
Any you want to throw a pick out there?
I'll go with Jesse Minter, plus 750. Yeah, Jesse Minter, first year with the Ravens.
Next award you want to talk about?
Let's do, I know you got stuff on NFL Comeback Player of the Year.
Comeback Player of the Year, yeah.
But one other, and I really like this because it just seems like you can really narrow down the choices. So let's talk about NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. And let's start first with a very quick history lesson. MVP, as we mentioned, is almost always quarterback. Offensive Rookie of the Year has been a wide receiver or running back in 8 of the last 13 seasons. Wide receivers, McMillan from Carolina, Garrett Wilson from the Jets, and Jamar Chase, they've won the award in the last 5 seasons, 3 of the last 5 seasons. Jaden Daniels and CJ Stroud were the other 2 over that 5-year span. The last 8 offensive, and this is the one you want to really listen to, the last 8 Offensive Rookie of the Year winners were selected in the top 10. Now I'll read that again. The last 8 Offensive Rookie of the Year winners were selected in the top 10. If you go to the top 10 of this year's draft, Riz, you immediately can cross off the 2 offensive tackles that went to Cleveland and New York, so now we're down to 8. You had 3 defensive players.
Gone.
They're gone. So now we're down to 5. Mendoza, or I'm sorry, I apologize. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 4 defensive players. So now you're down to 4 top 10 picks that are eligible essentially for this award. Mendoza, Jeremiah Love, the St. Louis product, Carnell Tate, and Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, who went to New Orleans. Those are the 4 most likely candidates. Okay, so if we go to the odds, you're not getting a ton of value because those are the 4 picks with the best odds.
Yeah, Love, Mendoza, and Tate.
But if Mendoza doesn't start enough, we can cross him off.
Yeah,
Tyson being in New Orleans, I know you just talked about New Orleans. Still got Chris Olave there. There's still some mouths to feed. I think the choice is really down to Jeremiah Love at plus 430 or Carnell Tate at plus 650.
My pick is Carnell Tate, Titans wide receiver.
That was what I was leaning to initially.
And you know why? Because he may be the number 1 receiver on that team.
Yes, Calvin Ridley signed a big deal.
So if he's the featured target and he's producing early, the market's going to move hard.
Yeah.
So to lock in a plus 650 now is
pretty good.
It's pretty good.
So Riz, like I said, that was the name that I first circled. But I'm tempted to just say Jeremiah Love. I know it's the obvious choice.
Yeah.
But I think Jeremiah Love is going to be an absolute dynamic play.
If you want the workload angle, Love plus 430 is the other option.
So since the spread zone has it covered already with Carnell Tate, I'll say Jeremiah Love.
Okay,
that's how you hedge.
Yeah,
Tim.
I'm with Jeremiah Love too. Arizona went out and attempted to improve that that offensive line, and I'm going to go with Jeremiah Love as well.
Let's talk a comeback player of the year because I do like this award. Yeah. Comeback player of the year, Patrick Mahomes at plus 200 is the favorite on FanDuel. And I think for me, I'm not overthinking it. It's Mahomes at plus 200.
Yeah. I mean, where else really are you going to go?
If he returns and looks like himself, the entire season becomes one long highlight reel of he's back.
Yep.
And that's how the award gets decided. If you want a second angle, maybe Kyler Murray at plus 600 is sitting right there.
Read my mind. Yep. Read my mind. Kyler Murray's going to have as long as he puts in the work, Kyler Murray's going to have a big year. Kevin O'Connell knows what he's doing in Minnesota. And Kyler Murray's going to start. It's not going to be J.J. McCarthy. So I think Kyler Murray offers you the best bang for the buck. But you're right, Riz. I mean, if Mahomes is healthy, plays all year, he's a shoo-in.
And he's back week 1.
Yeah. So you're getting 2-1 on that. So it's not great, but it does make the most sense. I really don't have anything else. Daniel Jones at plus 1,500 coming off the Achilles, that not great.
It's either Murray or Mahomes.
Exactly. I mean, Jaden Daniels does make some sense, but I'm just not a big fan of Washington. And if he's not Superman, then he's, he's an injury threat too, unfortunately.
There was another interesting award I was looking at was Defensive Player of the Year, and the FanDuel board has Myles Garrett at plus 400 at the top, but I'm going to go hunting on this one and give me for Defensive Player of the Year Brian Burns for the New York Giants.
Okay.
And here's the bet: if the Giants are relevant this year, maybe they are, maybe they aren't, but new head coach, and Burns is putting up headline sack numbers, that price collapses fast, and Defensive Player of the Year is a who led the league in wrecking plays award more than anything else.
Sure.
So I'm thinking this guy's got a shot.
Yeah, I think
it's at plus 3,300.
Sorry, Riz. I think that's an interesting play. Certainly. I'll throw one out just for a long shot. Max Crosby's got the storyline. I mean, he's literally traded to Baltimore in the offseason. And we all think that he's just gonna be this wrecking crease, finally out of Vegas, and he goes to Baltimore and he's just gonna be an absolute stud. And then the Ravens pull an about face. They wind up getting Trey Hendrickson, and they figure, okay, we don't, Crosby's too much of a risk, so he goes back to Vegas. Max Crosby, if Myles Garrett didn't exist, Max Crosby would be an absolute superstar. And within NFL circles, he's already a star. But Max Crosby at plus 2,200, I think is criminal for NFL Defensive Player of the Year.
Maybe it's I'm looking at the Giants with rose-colored glasses.
You love your team, man. I get it.
I see maybe something maybe happening.
The potential bias, so that's healthy.
Okay,
yeah, it's healthy.
That's very healthy.
Nothing wrong with that. It's like when I picked Missouri to win the NCAA tournament, and I lost to Drake.
You knew it. You knew what you were doing then.
And I knew exactly.
You admitted to it afterwards.
All right. Any other awards you fellas want to talk about?
I like that.
We'll do a little bit of each week as we gear up.
Well, let's leave it here then.
Perfect.
Fellas, anything else?
No, sir.
All right, well, let's go make some money. This week's episode of The Spread Zone recorded Wednesday, July 22nd at noon Central, 3 a.m. open. We're hunting value, NFL MVP, some of those NFL awards for Tim McKernan, Anthony Stalter. My name is Riz. Odds move. If the number's gone, don't chase, find the next edge. It's The Spread Zone, presented by FanDuel. See you next week.
We provide information about sports betting for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm gambling regulations in your state of residence. To participate in sports gaming, you must be 21 years of age or older and be physically present in a state where sports betting is legal. If you or someone you know has a sports betting or gambling problem, please call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org for more information and further assistance.